Well, they're important for every aspect of life. First I should say a little bit about what they are. It has to do with self-control, being able to focus your attention, being able to hold things in mind and work with them, and being able to creatively problem solve, to have the flexibility to see things in a new way. Okay, well, there's no aspect of life for which these things aren't important, whether it's marital harmony and getting along with people, whether it's school success, job success, whether it's health. You have better health if you have better executive functions. It's important for everything.
Yeah, and I was digging about working memory, and I have to write some things that you said just to build up on you, so my working memory is not so good as it has to be, isn't it?
No, I think it's very wise because it's always effortful to exercise executive functions. So anytime you can scaffold it by taking out some of the demands, like writing notes, that's brilliant. Why work hard when you don't have to? Make it easier for yourself.
Yeah. And the second thing that is important in every aspect of life is the inhibitory control, because the more we speak, the more trouble we get into, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. We need to think before we speak. We need to not blurt out the first thing that comes to mind often. Sometimes it can be inappropriate or hurt somebody's feelings. Not jump to a conclusion about what something must have meant. You can often be wrong about why somebody did something or said something. There are all kinds of ways you need inhibitory control. Yes.
Yeah, it happened to me in my parenting behavior. I used to say too much things to my kids when they were young, and now they are in their 20s. I rather speak to them, and it works better. Yeah, the other day, I was reading a book called The One Thing, and it said to search one thing in every aspect of your life, you know. And when it came to parenting, I said, okay, don't seek perfection. And it's working.
Yeah. 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 Praise works much better than criticism.
Yeah. And there's one thing that you mentioned so many times, that when a door closes, another open, that we tend to give all the attention to the door that closed. And Ryan Holiday have a good quote saying, "Get the package, find the gift." It's kind of the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. Cognitive flexibility, reframe things. Instead of thinking about the future and worrying about it, you could enjoy the present. Instead of thinking about all the ways you disagree with somebody, you could think about the ways you agree. Like maybe you disagree on politics, but you both care about having the best for your children.
Yes, as you said, it's counterintuitive because we tend to do the opposite. So we have to be aware of our behaviors and try to force ourselves to modify our actions.
Yes. Executive functions are what you need when going on automatic or doing what you're inclined to do wouldn't be a good idea, wouldn't be possible in the present situation. So it's exactly when you have to exercise a little bit of effort to not do what you might be inclined to do.
Yeah, in fact, I do run a company. This is a kind of a hobby, and all the executive functions are good for a guy that is in management. All the little
Absolutely.
things that you are talking and you are saying, okay, let's train this, and how we can train that in the everyday activities.
There are lots of ways. It depends a little bit on age about what's appropriate. But for example, for a little child, just helping with kitchen chores really helps to focus attention and concentration. To pour a liquid into a container, to carry glasses in a tray, to spoon beans, all of this, they have to concentrate. They have to focus. Um, uh, uh, Another thing that can work well is storytelling. You have to hold the information in mind and you have to pay close attention. So you need working memory and you need focused attention. right? You don't have pictures on the book in the book to help you. You don't have the video. You just have the words. So you really have to focus and concentrate.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and that storytelling when you are receiving the story is great for executive functions, and it's some activity that we don't perform nowadays. It's maybe an old school activity.
Right. A lot of traditional things that we don't do as much are really good for the human being, and we should think about doing them more in our lives. I think we're much less active than we used to be, and being physically active and healthy is also important for executive functions.
And you mentioned something that was interesting, that aerobics doesn't increase your executive functions, and you need.
Not exactly. What it is the research evidence when you do randomized control trials and assign people to aerobics or resistance training, the results are disappointing. Less than half the studies find executive function benefits. But the evidence is absolutely clear that people who are more physically active and in better physical shape and doing more physical activity have better executive functions. That's absolutely clear at all ages. So why can't the scientists find it when you can see it in everyday life? I think it has to do with the way studies are done. I think part of when an activity really benefits you, I think it has to do with your putting your all into the activity. You're committed. You want to get better. You really care. But if you're randomly assigned to A versus B, you may not have any commitment to A or B. In fact, you may have preferred to be in A, but you got assigned to B. So you often don't have that strong emotional commitment. And then it matters a lot who's guiding the activity, who's doing the training. They need to believe in you. They need to believe the activity helps. They need to foster camaraderie among everybody in the group. So the personal characteristics of the person doing the training can have a very big effect as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about research about tennis. I'm a former tennis player, and I used to rally with my kid twice a day, with one of my kids. And you said that just rallying is not enough. You have to play. You have to keep the score. To
No, you don't
develop
necessarily have to keep the score. What I was saying is there was a study in Japan where they looked at teaching tennis the way I learned tennis, and I think most people. First, you practice the forehand, and you keep practicing forehand. And when you get relatively good at that, you practice backhand. But they're just hitting you shots, and you're hitting one shot back to them. It's not rallying. It's not playing. It's just practice. And they found that didn't improve tennis as much and didn't improve executive function as much as what you did, which is playing a simplified game of tennis. Playing the game of tennis is helping. Practicing, getting ready to play the game of tennis isn't helping as much.
Okay, so I'm on the right page with my son and with executive functions. And what can harm the executive functions? What activities can betray them?
Well, executive functions depend on the most fragile area of the brain called prefrontal cortex. If you're sad, if you're stressed, if you're lonely, if you're not in good physical shape, prefrontal cortex can't work as well, and your executive functions suffer. So you have better executive functions if you're happier, if you're less stressed, if you're not feeling lonely, and if you're in better physical shape.